Okay, we'll start then. So, hello, welcome to the Zoom group. Let's start with just connecting. That seems to be a nice way to connect. um, okay, I hope that's not an indication of how it's going to go. I hope I'm going to have words. Yeah, so just to sort of come into the moment and come into wherever you are, even if you're watching this on video afterwards. So in existence, you've got yourself and your device in front of you, whether that's a phone or a laptop or whatever, and you've got a little video of me and my voice maybe coming out. And you've got the room that you're in and what's behind the device. And these are all the things that are in existence. And in existence, you're possibly on your own with this, whatever it is, device. But then if you just close your eyes and you start to pull back from your senses a little bit, I mean, as soon as you close your eyes, you've pulled back from your vision. But then if you pull back from your senses a little bit, meaning, just you're aware of the sounds, you're aware of the sensations, your breathing and all those kind of things, but you're also aware of your interior landscape. Because as soon as you close your eyes, you're into those kind of, you're not seeing the same things that you were seeing. Your eyes are seeing, maybe if it's sunlight out, you're seeing the sunlight coming through your eyeballs, but it's different in that the more you pull back from that, the darker it gets. So just bring your attention to the sensation in your hands and what that feels like. The sensation inside your hands. For me, it's a subtle kind of tingling. And the sensation, draw your attention to the sensation on the palms of your hands and the front of your fingers. And just see how that's different from the backs of your hands and the backs of your fingers. You see that there's a difference between the front and the back of your hand. And then withdraw your attention from your hand and put your attention on your thighs. Don't put your hands on your thighs yet, just put your hands on the inside of your thighs and what the sensation is in your thighs. For me, that's a very different sensation to the sensation in my hands. For me, it's like the difference between a higher note in my hands and a baser note in my thighs. So, staying with the intention of your thighs, very gently bring your hands to rest on your thighs and get a sense of the feeling of your hands resting on your thighs, just from your thighs perspective. And then you can lift off your hands and bring them back down again, just to sort of keep feeling that sensation of something resting on your thighs and what that feels like. And then bring your attention back to your hands, inside your hands. And the same again, lift your hands off and bring them down again onto your thighs, and just lift them off and bring them down a few times, just to sort of get a sense of what it's like to bring your hands down onto your thighs. So you've got two things going on. You've got the sensation inside your hand of coming in contact with your thighs, and then you can bring your attention to your thighs and feel the sensation of your hands coming down onto your thighs. And you can go back and forth between the two. And then you can kind of hold the two. You can hold both the sensation of your thighs and the sensation of your hands. And again, just gently lift your hands on and off. And what you're feeling there is the membrane of existence. And if you want, you can reach your hands, to something that's not part of your body and just touch that and see how you can feel that. That's all the membrane of existence. Wherever you touch, you're touching the membrane of existence. Because the sensation in your hands, your sensation of touch, it's registering, it's pushing up against, or you're contacting with the membrane of existence. That gives you the feeling of that there is an existence out there, and you're feeling it from the inside when you're focused on the sensation. So you can just rest your hands wherever is comfortable now, and just keep pulling back from your senses a little bit. Go back a little bit further. You can think of it like a spaceship reversing out of a dock. You're going back a little bit more into inner space, and just bring to mind that there's other people in the group, and that I'm here. And out of existence, you can begin to connect with me out of existence. And if you bring your arms, just stretch your arms out on either side if you can, and see if you can, just in that sensation in your fingertips, if you can get a sense of me. Let's start with me. You get a sense of me reaching out and touching, contacting your fingers out of existence. So let go of the shape of your fingers and what they feel like, and just stay with the sensation. And you have a reference now for what the sensation in your hands felt like when you had it on your thighs and just on other things. And it's just the same. You're reaching out to connect with me, and you have a sense of connecting with me in the same way as you connected with your thighs or with whatever inanimate object that you touched, except I'm not inanimate. I've got an energy, got a signature. You can feel that. See if you can feel a sense of, it just depends, different people feel it different ways, but it can be a sense of otherness, that you're connecting with another. Not alien, but just another that's not you. And you're connecting with me. And now see if you can include the other people in the group as well. And again, you don't have to be limited to the way things are in existence. It's not like we're in a big circle. You can connect with everybody in the group at the same time. You can leave your hands out or you can bring them down. It just depends on what's comfortable for you. You get the most kind of feeling of it if your hands are out. You can bring them down. If they're not, that's fine. But once you're focusing on out of existence, your body doesn't have to have the same shape as it has in existence, because you're just into the sensation. And you get a sense of all the people, the rest of the people in this group. And in the same way you let go of the shape of your body, you can let go of time, the idea of time being a linear thing, because that only happens really in existence. And you see if you can get a sense of all the people who are going to watch the video, or without putting that kind of linear reference on it, all the people who are watching the video, because it all happens at the same time. I don't mean like I'm broadcasting this, I'm not. It's going to be, it's recording and then it's going to be made on YouTube, but people watching this will have a connection. And you can have a sense of them too. Okay, so just, you don't have to like pull back from that or anything. You can just leave that all there. If you feel it'll be disorienting to just open your eyes, then yeah, pull back from it. But you don't have to. You can just open your eyes. You can put your hands down if you like. Good. Okay. So, does anybody have any questions about that kind of connection thing, or the whole? Yeah, I mean, it could be a little bit trippy. So if you're not used to it, so if you have any questions about it, fire away. Okay. So I wanted to just check in with everybody about how their process of further emergence is going. There's a lot going on everywhere in the whole world. And things are, I don't think they're quickening actually. I think they're in just a pretty constant state now of a constant speed of change, which is pretty fast, but it doesn't feel like it's speeding up. It was speeding up, but it doesn't feel like it now. It's slowed down a little bit, if anything. So yeah, just what's the biggest challenge you're having with your own process of further emergence? So you can just text it in privately or say it or whatever, and I don't mind who goes first. Right, Emma says staying sane. What does that mean? Sanity is a very relative kind of term.
Sorry. Yeah. Did you ask me directly, correct?
Yep.
It means that I feel like right now is so complex and so multi-layered that in times where I'm not grounded enough, then it feels very chaotic in my mind. That's the lack of sanity.
Yeah.
That's the thing.
Yeah.
And it feels to me an experience at this time that although I have a pretty good practice of grounding for many years, that right now it feels different in a sense that it doesn't take a lot to trigger. And yeah.
So what does grounding mean for you?
It's being centered and having this sense of stillness with this kind of, we were talking last time about when you're in meditation and you feel like this dropping.
Yeah.
So to me, centered would be, feeling more aligned or centered, but then grounded, there's another layer to it. So that would be the grounding.
Okay, I think I got it. Okay, well, I think like this, the Aldous Huxley poem keeps coming back to me about, lightly, and it's very relevant, being like, there's a lot going on, but it isn't really, for me anyway, in my heart, when I look into it, really there's nothing surprising going on. What's surprising is that it's going on. Meaning, the changes that are happening, the things that are, the structures that are falling apart, the hypocrisy, all the falseness is just coming to the surface, right? Now, what's surprising for me is that it's coming to the surface, but what it is not surprising. I've sort of, it's like it's something that since I was a kid, I kind of felt, no, that's not right. There's something not right about that. But everybody is behaving as if it's right. So maybe it's me. Maybe there's something wrong with me. And it kind of reminds me of that, that quote about, I don't know who it was said this, but something along the lines of being sane in an insane society is no indication of wellness or mental health. So, and that, sorry, were you going to ask me something or say something?
No, it feels though that there is something to the fact that in the process of growth, transformation, change, further emergence, there is a rumble. There is something that does not feel comfortable. So I hear what you say, but I don't feel like I'm experiencing the same thing, because it I'm it sounds to me, and maybe I'm wrong, that you are in a very stand back, or I don't know the English word. You know, it feels like you're more in an observer.
Um, no, no. What I was getting to was it also applies to me and you, and that it's there isn't really any space left for in existence. There isn't any space left for being very still and everything being lovely. This kind of what you described as grounded. It feels like the ground is shifting too much to be able to be grounded in existence. The only place I can be grounded is out of existence. And that is very, because, whatever you're seeing going on in existence, there's a lot more going on out of existence. So there's nowhere really, there's no peace anywhere, in a way. But it's like that thing of the only constant is change. It's a paradoxical kind of thing that in the times before, it's a little bit like, learning craniosacral or meditation or something. At the beginning, you need a quiet room and not to be disturbed, so you can become familiar with your inner space. But then, as you go deeper and deeper, it's like life pushes you to be able to maintain that in more and more complicated and difficult kind of situations, to be able to know it. It's a little bit like what I was saying, that this feeling of going somewhere in depth is just that. It's just a feeling. It's not actually, as soon as you close your eyes, or you don't even have to close your eyes, but you can connect with that very deep part of you, that deep emptied place, without anything, and it's almost like the external, like what's happening now, this kind of all this falseness that's coming to the surface and being transformed. And I'm not being optimistic, it is being transformed, just may not look like that, by consciousness. It leaves very little space for a quiet room anywhere. So it's like those days are finished, and now this feeling of lightness and being able to navigate. When you started off, it just reminded me of talking about or this idea of being overwhelmed. The first time I was ever overwhelmed, probably like anyone else, I was just it was just so disturbing, and I was running around, trying to stop this horrible feeling of being overwhelmed. And now I'm just very familiar with being overwhelmed. And now when I'm overwhelmed, because it's happened to me so many times, I know what to do. And I know that trying to do anything when I'm overwhelmed, trying to sort anything out, trying to stop being overwhelmed just makes it worse. For me, I have this mental image of being at the center of a hurricane. and that if any thought to change what's happening just pulls me into the hurricane, and I just, go around a big circle. And all I can do is just sit in the middle as best I can and wait for it to pass, because it will pass. And that's kind of what it feels like with this. There's so many different things that going on externally and internally that I could get pulled into. That I am. I don't feel very far, I don't feel back, like removed or distanced or just uncoupled from life, but I feel very poised, meaning, balanced on a very thin edge of a moving thing that I need to be responsive to all the time. Because I don't know about you, but I'll wake up in the morning feeling, some mornings I'll wake up in the morning feeling like a lot has gone on at night during the night. I'll feel a certain way. I might have lots of feelings of happiness or feelings of, foreboding or pressure, and then 2 hours later, it'll be completely different. And 2 hours later, it'll be completely different. And sometimes it's even, can happen within minutes, Does that speak to you, what you're talking about a bit more?
Yeah, I mean, it clarified what you were saying. And I relate to some of it. Yeah,
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah. I think,
It
I
still
think,
feels to me, the quality feels to me different though. But again, is it just because of what's going on since this year? Or is it because of other things? I don't know, but it feels very different to me this
yeah.
year or this past few months.
Yeah. For me, this has been going on for years for me. What's different about this year is it's on the outside. That's the main
Right, so
difference.
there's a difference. There's a difference, and if it was not on the outside before and it is now, there's a difference in feeling too, isn't there?
Yeah. 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 I think the thing of like when you're saying about staying sane, it sounds like um, you know reference points, like looking for reference points to hang on to sort of be able to.
I loved your image of the hurricane because I think this is capturing really well this sanity
Yeah.
thing. The sanity would be staying in the eye and watching the whole thing, and the
Yeah.
insanity would be being grabbed by one of these things that pulls you in the hurricane. I just
Yeah.
feels like since March it's been easier because there's so many of
Yeah.
so many stuff in the hurricane floating around.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, for sure. The nice thing is, though, all the work that you've done, all the awareness that you've got comes to your aid now. All those years of becoming more familiar with your inner landscape comes to
Of
help you now.
learning how to swim. Now I'm in the pool.
Yeah. Surf. I think it's surfing. Okay. So, yeah. Anybody else? What's the biggest challenge you're having at the moment with your further emergence?
Well, I feel like I'm very actively in the process. I don't feel so challenged by it. I think it's just really, this time since March has been, like, I mean, not that I've sure had, challenges to kind of adapt and work through, but basically, I've been in a retreat of some sort in some ways. So there's just been a lot of inner activity, and it's been going, it's just been going really, really well in that regard. So if I guess the niggly thing that, comes up for me is, to also feel what's going on globally and to contribute in ways that matter and to still own my, my path right now, which is, going really well. And so, finding that balance around all of that.
Yeah, that's great. That's fantastic. Okay, well, if you do have a question, fire away. But I'll go on with what's been coming up for me this week. Was there's like most of what I pick up out of existence and in existence, it's pretty heavy at the moment. And it's like, it's true, but that there are a lot of, pretty intense things going on in and out of existence. But this kind of idea that I was thinking about humor. I started off thinking about the cosmic joke, and then I got more and more into humor and how life, or, let's call it life, the big movement, the big thing out there in here that's doing its thing, it's got a sense of humor, which I think is really funny. When I hadn't really thought about it like that. Because as the more I thought about humor and how beautiful it is, and how it doesn't really serve any obvious function, really, on the surface, compared to other things like communication and all the other things that go on in existence that are important, like communication, love. That's about it. I can't see anything else really in existence that's doesn't kind of pass away. And it's almost like humor is just like this fragrance. It's like a reminder from not a reminder like a lesson. I don't mean it like that, but it's like it is like a fragrance. It's like if you walk into a room and somebody's been there and they have this lovely perfume or aftershave or whatever. There's a nice fragrance, and you walk in and maybe the person, and they're like, "Oh, that's Bill or Mary. They've been in this room," and it reminds you. I have this feeling of like humor is like that. It's like the fragrance of life or God or whatever you want to call it, that big thing, and how it's kind of very much not focused on at the moment, which I thought was a bit unbalanced, because it's sort of needed right now, I think. Which sounds like a frivolous thing to say, we all need to start laughing, which that's not what I'm saying, but like, just thinking about different things that make me laugh, it's almost like I feel like I'm chuckling away all the time about things, and a lot of the times I'm chuckling at myself. And there's a very nice kind of compassionate, loving quality to it, like say with meditation, if I'm in the middle of meditating and I discover that I'm thinking about something, and it's like, oh, there I am thinking again, I'll sort of bring my mind back to not thinking. But if I find myself thinking about something outrageous, like outrageously unconscious, like swearing at somebody, or like, I might sort of snap out of this big, complicated, vendetta kind of thought, like that person did that thing to me and how dare they, and then I sort of pull back from it, and I just I find it hilarious. And I think that is a beautiful thing, but I think it is, as I say, it's like this fragrance of, it's like a divine fragrance, really, because when we say things like divine and life and the universe and all the things that, you hear, like these just words that are trying to describe this thing, this thing that we're trying to be close to and be part of and be one with, and that is us as well. It doesn't seem to have that kind of humor element of it. So this idea that humor is like the life or the universe or all that. Yeah, it's got a really good sense of humor. It's got probably the best sense of humor. And I know from my own experience that if I'm around people who don't have a good sense of humor, I get quite uneasy, because it's like they're just not getting the joke. And if they're not getting the joke, it seems like people who are very serious, they're the ones who do, or who don't have a good sense of humor, are very distanced from that kind of divine fragrance. And I mean, of course, there's all sorts of different twists on that. There's different people have different senses of humor. I get that. But then their humor can be used to get away from things. Like you can listen to people laughing. You can tell a lot by the way people laugh and what they laugh at and what they're trying to avoid. So I'm not talking about that there's no joy or mirth in that. And it's funny, like, I'm not talking about jokes either, or comedy or any of that kind of stuff, even though there can be that, divine fragrance of humor. I hadn't even put it in those terms till I just started talking about it. But yeah, you can get whiffs of it in some comedy, but it's more just seeing, like, oh yeah, that's right. I saw something. I saw somebody talking about something very passionately online, and they were, trying to express how, what they really felt, and they wrote this sentence, right? And it said, "I'm sure they would be internally grateful," right? Except they didn't write eternally; they wrote internally grateful. Okay, and it just, like, I just started laughing when I read that, because it's like, oh, that's it. Like, it's that thing of, we take, I mean, I'm not, disparaging that person, but we just take ourselves very seriously. And then we just unintentionally do something like that. And I think that's life. I think that's life just reminding us, this is not that serious. Or it's got, a beautiful humor to it as well, like to write internally grateful instead of eternally grateful. And, I mean, whenever I think about this kind of stuff, I always think about my that story about being in the Barry Long thing. And I mean, I've already talked about that, another thing, but those kind of situations where everything is very serious and holy and precious, and then just something happens. Somebody falls off the stage, or somebody slips on a banana skin. Well, nobody does that, really. I've never seen that in real life. But we just let something slip to remind ourselves. And when I was looking at everything and what's happening, I was like, yeah, that I'm not seeing that. So yeah, that is what's been on my mind a lot this week, of, number one, realizing how much I chuckle to myself as I discover things, and how soothing that is for me. Like how it's nice to sort of chuckle. And, I have voices in my head that are very unfriendly and unkind towards me. I'm not talking about that. I'm not talking about that kind of sneering laughter. I'm talking about just genuine affection, when I discover I'm being really silly about something, or really caught up about something, It's like that thing of if I get really worked up about something, I kind of just, suddenly I'll just remember, oh yeah, that's right, it's all going to disappear in a couple of hours when I go to sleep. Everything that I'm taking so seriously, it's just going to disappear. And then all going, well, it's going to reappear tomorrow morning where I left it. But it just is such a pleasant kind of punctuation to it. Anyway, just the thing of how sweet humor is, and how helpful it is, particularly now, and how I'm not seeing much of that in existence. So I'm hoping that will come a bit more. And yeah, so yeah, how's everybody else with that? How do you relate to what I'm saying, or have any kind of experience of that?
I think I understand what you're talking about. I think I understand the kind of humor you're talking about. And I don't know if it's because it's not there or not, or it is, but I haven't been feeling it a lot. That is for sure.
Yeah.
I haven't. Something also that came in my mind this week since the last, Zoom group is, which feels also very interesting to say. There's something also about compassion. I'm compassionate, but I find my edges today like I didn't have before. Does that make sense or no?
No, what do you mean you find your edges?
I don't know. There's just something in the feeling of being compassionate that is completely open. You can, in the feeling, in the sensation, the feeling of compassion. It's a non-judgment place, not judgmental place.
Yeah.
And I feel today that that window has shifted for me. That place has shifted for me. And I'm not exactly sure why. And I feel like it has to do with the global shift. Does that make sense or no?
Yeah, I'm with you up to the shift. Where is it shifted to, though? That's the bit I'm not clear on.
I don't find maybe myself as compassionate as I used to be.
Oh, okay.
Maybe. And
All right.
maybe now I'm in a place where I have to revisit all this,
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
today, thing I felt like I was not put up against before. I felt like the universe, the world, what's going on is offering me different things to deal with. And I don't have this unlimited compassion like I used to have before.
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
And
Because
I don't know, I don't know if I don't know if it relates to the humor. That's why I brought that up.
yeah. 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 Well, when I'm laughing at myself, um, in that kind of affectionate way, it's very compassionate. It's very deeply compassionate because I don't know. Consciousness is such a funny thing. Like, how can I have two parts of me? How can I have two parts of me? One part of me laughing at another part of me. Like that's weird to start off with, but there it is. And everybody I think has that. And often, I can have arguments with three or four different parts of me going on inside, which is hilarious. But the part of me that is seeing the humor. Well, actually, that's more like, when you'll see it in films, where there'll be one character and they're very stern and they're pretty scary, and they say something to another character, and it's like, you better do this, blah blah blah, and then the other character says something completely outrageous and shocking, and everybody else around is like, oh my god, what's the big scary person going to do? And then they start laughing. And then everybody starts laughing. That's kind of what it's like on the inside. I'll see myself doing something, and then it's like everybody starts laughing because it's like I think what it is it's again consciousness seeing unconsciousness kind of transforming, and seeing silliness sounds kind of judgmental. I don't mean it in a silly way, but it is that joke, which is kind of the cosmic joke. But I don't like talking about the cosmic joke because it's very it can be construed as a very cynical thing, like, oh man, it's just a cosmic joke. This is all just one big, whatever. I don't mean it like that. I mean the real cosmic joke, the true kind of like hilariousness of the moment that consciousness becomes conscious. It's just very funny and beautiful. So that I'm talking about that just in terms of me in compassion, because if you're feeling like you've got limits to your compassion, there's a good chance that you're feeling that inside as well towards yourself, because everything out here, it's just a reflection, and what's happening now is, because of everything is, like, as I say, before, when the world was what was called normal, I was just going along, dealing with all this stuff inside me, and kind of going, yeah, well, the world doesn't seem to, put much store by all of this kind of stuff. And it's really important to me, but, I'll just keep going, kind of thing. Now it's all happening outside as well. And it's kind of had that accelerating quality of, it's kind of pulling whatever was unconscious, and I would just work away on my own on the inside. Now it's kind of being pulled forward and out and reflected back as well. So I would, I don't want to kick there. I'd suggest that rather than, I'm not telling you how it is in you, but just possibly this is what's going on, or you could look to see if this is what's going on. That's probably a better way of putting it. That, the feeling you had of like unbounded compassion, possibly had limits to it that you just couldn't see. And now, because everything's accelerated, you're, rather than feeling like, oh, now it's limited, it is possibly that you're just seeing limits that you didn't see before, right? Because everything has, challenged you to the, it's bringing it out of you in a way. Like, because often consciousness feels to me like an overhead light, and it casts this circle of light. And, as you become more conscious, the light goes up a little bit and the circle gets a bit bigger. And always around the edges, that's where all that sort of turmoil is, around the edges. And as the light goes up, you're just discovering more and more and more about yourself all the time as your consciousness expands. So possibly that feeling of, oh, now there's limits to my compassion, is, your light's gone up a bit more, and it's just revealed, a limitation, or what you're perceiving as a limit that you just couldn't see before, How does that sound?
I had a voice here telling me, yeah, that sounds exactly like this. And then the other voice was like, yeah, or I don't tolerate the same bullshit anymore. But no, that was the joke. But yeah, no. It is a possibility that it is that. It is a possibility.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, you see, the other thing is that we're all empowered now, because now I get to go, well, all that stuff that I was, for years going, that's not true, that's false, I just have a feeling that's just not right. Now it's kind of like, yeah, it wasn't right, it's not working, so you're kind of empowered to kind of go, to feel like, how did you describe it? I'm not putting up with bullshit that I put up in the past. That you can
tolerate. Yeah, there was a difference of tolerance. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's part of the feedback loop that's going on at the moment, is that you're getting feedback of, which is saying to you, yeah, all the things that are coming to the surface now, that you had the feeling were wrong, are you were right. So that's kind of emboldens us a bit,
And in this, in practice or in experience, this process of further emergence also feels like, this image of the pressure cooker with the steam that's been going on for a long time, and now we're able to let some out. So in practice, it's more how to manage the pressure of what's coming out, so it doesn't, so it becomes a healthy aggression versus an unhealthy aggression. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah. I've never seen healthy aggression. I've seen passion, but not healthy aggression. But that could be just
That could
me.
be another word for healthy aggression. Yes.
Okay. All right. Okay. I keep getting this image of, treading lightly over the surface of this very moving sands with all these kind of things pulling you in one way or another. So for me anyway, the only way I can navigate this is gentleness, really, to be gentle with myself. So if I, blow my top about something, which I don't generally do, but if I did, or, what do? I get depressed. So, if I wake up and I'm depressed, I'll be, rather than like, oh, come on now, that, that's, what about all this, other brilliant stuff? I don't do any of that. It's like, oh, okay. So it's kind of like depression is on me. That's what it feels like. And I go, oh, okay, fine. I'll just be with that, and I've found that's the most efficient way of dealing with anything. Like whether, if I get angry about something, or like I was angry earlier on at the cat. I mean, that's a ridiculous thing to say. But I was, right? Because the cat just was sitting on the stairs, just meowing at me. I don't know if you've got pets, but you know the way they talk to you, and they sort of, you kind of know what they want. And I was running around doing a lot of different things. And, I don't know if you talk to your pets, but I do, because it's just easier, right? So I just kind of went, yeah, okay, I'll do that in a minute, right? But he just kept going. And then I started tripping over things, and I just got really annoyed, And in those kind of situations, it's just like, oh, there I am being annoyed, And of course, now that I'm saying it, it's even funnier, right? Because I'm annoyed at the cat. Like, I mean, the cat doesn't. There's no justification for that. There's no good reason for it. But, whoops. I was annoyed at the cat, right? So this all kind of happened unconsciously, but it happened unconsciously because I spent a lot of time making it part of my unconscious behavior. Meaning, so I didn't get into judging myself about being annoyed at the cat. I moment to moment, whenever I could, said to the cat, "Oh, okay, I didn't mean that." I mean, it's not like I was swearing at the cat or anything, but I think animals are very sensitive to your energy. So it wouldn't matter what I said, the cat would still know that I was annoyed at him, So, I'm bobbing up and down on the waves of annoyance and then consciousness, where I'm like, oh my God, I'm annoyed at the cat. This is hilarious. And then like, oh, sorry, Phantom. His name's Phantom. Sorry, Phantom. And then, and then 2 seconds later, I turn around and doing something else, and he's meowing at me again. I'm like, I'm coming. I'll do it in a minute, and then like back again. So it's just this like dance up and down of like in and out of it and in and out of it. And that's what I meant about like just being light with it. And then, I don't know. I think I did whatever he wanted me to do, changed his litter tray and fed him and did all the things. And now he's happy and I'm happy. And it's like, it's mostly gone. It's like 95% gone. There's always a little residue, but 95% of it is just gone, And being able to just be light with it and be, oh, there I am being annoyed. There I am being conscious, sorry about that, Phantom. Oh, there I am annoyed again, oh, sorry about that, Phantom. Just up and down. Like, that's a little microcosm of my day with different things, whatever, because I'm equally the same with like I'll go out into the garden or something and I'll turn around and I'll just see something that's really beautiful. And suddenly I'll have this huge rush of profound joy, but that's just the same, it's like it's just the other end of the same kind of spectrum, I mean, I much prefer it to have more of those kind of experiences, but it's just the opposite of it, and, in the same way, it's like, there I am feeling, profound, divine joy and oneness with this leaf that the sun is just hitting that's just triggered this in me, but it's the same, like it goes up and down and, so does that help?
Sure. Yes. No. No. I understand. I relate too. I feel like it's an up and down thing throughout the day. Yeah. Maybe it's a thing about just being more aware of it.
Yeah, I think like it's like, when I was saying it's like kind of slowed down. It has, meaning what I mean by that is, right, there was a period of like, oh, it's lockdown, it's COVID, it's this, it's the whatever. Now it's like we're kind of a little bit numb to drastic change because there's so much of it happening. Now there's fires, Before it would have been, oh my God, the fires, that's it, that's what it's all about. Now it's just like, and there's fires on top of, all of this other stuff, right? So that's what I mean by it feels like it's slowed down a little bit. But the one thing that is happening, like, to everybody, it feels like, is that we're, as I say, there's a lot of unconscious coming to the surface pretty fast. And one of those things is we're discovering the light is kind of moving up quicker. So you're discovering things about yourself, or I'm discovering things about myself that I didn't know were there. And that's happening at a faster rate. And that sounds lovely, but it's like if you discover, say, just using your own example, like, oh, what I thought was beautiful, boundless compassion. Oh, no, hang on. There's a couple of goalposts on the end of this. Oh, okay. I'm not that kind of person, or whatever, it's like, or you discover something about yourself because the light's gone up a bit and you can see more of yourself, or more of the unconscious, parts of yourself that you didn't see before. And it's like, that's very disorienting, along with everything else that's very disorienting,
No, it is. It is disorienting. And sometimes I find myself laughing about it too. I will be in a situation confronted with something that, where I feel like my window of tolerance has changed. And yet I'm going to be laughing, being like, whoa, who's this? Who's this Emma? Like, this is very different. Like, this is interesting,
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then the real challenge is, particularly if you're interacting with somebody, is to try and be, as fast as you can in the moment, in that, because it changes so quickly, that, the one moment you're standing up and you're saying something that you would have never said before, and you're, standing up for something or confronting something or someone. And then in the next moment, you see some unconscious part of yourself that kind of crept into it. And then to be able to kind of go, oh, okay, I didn't mean that bit. I meant the first 3 bits, but I didn't mean that bit. So, sorry about that, or whatever way you say that. And then, and then if they come back at some with other unconsciousness that you're like, no, hang on, blah, blah, blah. You've got to be very fast to stay up with it,
Yeah, it feels faster.
Yeah. That's something I'm not great at in the moment. Sometimes I'm brilliant, but often I'll be sort of driving home going, oh, right. I did that. Oh, okay. Yeah, right. Those first 5 things I said were great, but then that other thing, no, that was completely off, or whatever. All right. Okay. Well, look, thanks very much. It's lovely to connect with you all. And, that's there for you all the time, this connection, with people. There's always people around to connect with behind the scenes, out of existence, to help or to be helped, to support or to be supported. It's lovely. And there's more and more people all the time. I certainly feel that anyway. They're sort of popping up behind the scenes. It's great. Your dog is lovely, Karen. Okay, so thanks a lot, and see you next week, maybe.
Thank you.
Bye. You're welcome.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Bye.